Very welcome everyone to 1569 of the series. We will continue where we left off in 1566 in Jesus, the holder of the 7 stars in his right hand by Sanghwan Lee. We left off just when we're starting with dissimilarities. Last time we talked about various similarities. And we gave different options, 3 options for the infant Caesar on the reverse side of the coin. We looked more into the reverse and recto, how it continues to play interesting roles. And how these oppositions, you see, I think it becomes so clear with this coin, or any coin, of course. We cannot ever say that it's only the tail or the head. But you cannot have a head if you don't allow the tail. And that's very problematic. Today's academia is ruled by exclusion. And therefore we have neither oneness nor plurality. Everything becomes excruciatingly blunt. We end up knowing very little. Sometimes we call this tendency the monosemic, but it is not even monosemic, because you cannot have one singular meaning if you don't have several. There's no chance, just as you cannot only have one side of the coin. Monosemic means strictly that you have lost your capability to understand. So we continue. It is the 4th paragraph, page 354. Dissimilarities. As the previous section As the previous section has demonstrated, there are striking similarities between the Son of Domitian depicted in the DCCT and Jesus portrayed in Revelation. Hence, the intended audience of Revelation might have understood Jesus in comparison to the deified son of Domitian. If so, then this approach also invites us to take a closer look at the distinct depictions of the two mentioned figures, because John might have attempted to deliver his theological points by differentiating Jesus from the deified son of Domitian. Naked versus dressed. The first dissimilarity is that while the son of Domitian is depicted as naked, Jesus is described as wearing a robe extending down to his feet and a golden belt wrapped around his chest. Jesus's outfit has been identified as priestly and or kingly, the sash attire. Whatever the case may be, the most obvious observation is that Jesus's body is fully covered by costly dress, whereas the son of Domitian is completely naked. As mentioned previously, the nakedness of the infant can be understood positively in the light of the phenomenon of heroic nudity. However, it is significant for our study that the nakedness motif appears in a negative way throughout Revelation. For example, in Revelation 3:17, Jesus harshly rebukes the Laodicean church for not recognizing themselves as being wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. In Revelation 16:15, Jesus warns the readers to keep their clothes on. So that they will not have to walk around naked. Finally, Revelation 17:16 describes that a coalition of 10 kings allied with the beast punished, the harlot, Rome, by making her desolate and naked. Hence, it is possible that Revelation's depiction of Jesus as wearing a costly cloak reaching down to his feet and a golden belt wrapped around his chest is a literally attack on the imperial iconography of the son of Domitian that appears in the DCCT. Surrounded by the 7 stars versus holding the 7 stars. The second dissimilarity between the 2 figures is how they are related to the 7 stars in a locative way. While the DCCT depicts the stars as encircling the deified son of Domitian, which places him within the realm of the stars. Revelation 1:16a portrays the seven stars as being held in the right hand of Jesus. Which positions him in a realm outside of, and thus superior to, the realm of the seven stars. This difference is significant. Recall that the seven stars symbolize the domain of the blessed dead who received immortality. Hence, although the deified son of Domitian is depicted as presiding over the celestial sphere, and thus capable of controlling the world, his position being within the realm of the seven stars sets a limit to his power. That is, he is neither a controller of the celestial realm, nor a sovereign king over the dead. On the other hand, Jesus is said to hold the seven stars within his right hand. Although the expression right hand can convey various meanings depending on the context, it is most likely represents power in the present context. According to this view, the imagery of Jesus is holding the 7 stars within his right hand indicates Jesus's sovereignty over the domain of the blessed dead who receive immortality. In other words, unlike the deified Son of Domitian, Jesus is portrayed as having authority over both the terrestrial and celestial realms. Hence, Jesus in Revelation 1:16a is a cosmic ruler spanning heaven and earth. Three, summary and the final thoughts. In this section, I compare the image of the deceased son of Domitian, depicted in DCCT, to Jesus described in Revelation, demonstrating similarities and dissimilarities between the two. As for the similarities, both figures are presented as an eternal being who was once dead, dwelling in the celestial realm and ruling the cosmos. As for the dissimilarities, Jesus was fully covered with a costly dress, whereas Domitian's son was completely naked. Although such nakedness can be interpreted positively in light of the heroic nudity of divinity, John subverts this concept by assigning a negative value of nakedness all throughout Revelation. Another dissimilarity is that, unlike the deified son of Domitian, whose place is confined to and within the 7 stars, Jesus is described as holding the 7 stars within his right hand, which promotes Jesus above the domain of the 7 stars. Such differences show that Jesus is much superior to the deified son of Domitian in terms of his stature and the realm he rules. The function of subversion of the imperial message in Revelation. My approach in this article raises a question. Why would John attempt to subvert the imperial message embedded in the DCCT if he did? In what follows, I will suggest that the purpose of the subversion is likely twofold. Urging the believers of Asia Minor to abandon the participation in trade associations connected to imperial cults, and 2, encouraged them to endure the resultant socio-economic persecution unto death. In order to accomplish this task, I will establish the historical setting of revelation, attempting to understand how the intended audience, whose lives were under imperial power, would have perceived the identification of Jesus as the holder of the 7 stars in his right hand. Escalated tension and pressure it has been generally assumed that Revelation was written as a response to the Domitianic initiated empire-wide persecution directed against Christians who refused to participate in the imperial cults in Asia Minor. However, many scholars have fairly challenged this view, pointing out the lack of corroboration by Roman sources for such a claim. Instead, evidence supports the claim that Rome neither imposed the observance of the imperial cults on Christians, nor legally sanctioned persecution against those who failed to accommodate emperor worship. For this reason, more recent scholarship attempts to understand the persecution that lay behind Revelation in terms of the social, economic, political, and cultural pressures that appeared locally and sporadically. As for the prevalence of persecution language in Revelation, which seems to be contradicted by the historical evidence at the first glance, Shane J. Wood argues that one should distinguish between physical and non-physical persecutions when investigating the Numismatic persecutions of Christians. In this light, Wood demonstrates that Revelation describes both types of contemporary persecutions, but in a distinct manner. While the book offers only 2 examples of present physical persecutions, it exhibits multiple present non-physical persecutions. Such as slander, deception, and wealth redistribution. According to this observation, Revelation does not depict a contemporary massive physical persecution against Christians. Yet, Wood correctly adds that Revelation does warn that physical persecution leading to death will increase in the indeterminate future in its emphasis on the patient endurance necessary for the impending tribulations. Such impending persecution, according to Wood, could reflect a present setting of escalated tensions for Christians due to non-physical persecution that has at times resulted in physical persecutions for various types. Hence, the ubiquity of persecution language in Revelation should not be understood as only indicating a contemporary event, but also as consisting of past, present, and future events. Based on this perspective, Wood further remarks, Revelation portrays a contemporary setting in which non-physical persecution is experienced in a heightened manner. And that has at times resulted in physical persecution. The contemporary non-physical persecution develops an atmosphere that increases the potential for more physical persecution in the indeterminate future. Reflecting the physical persecution from the indeterminate past. In the face of both types of persecution, then, Revelation issues a clarion call to Christians for patient endurance as they worship God alone. In sum, Revelation warns its intended audience who have been experiencing escalated tension due to various non-physical persecutions to be ready for the indefinite future physical persecutions that could possibly lead them to death. Economic tension and pressure. As seen, the Christians of Asia Minor were subject to various kinds of pressure and harassment for their loyalty to God and Jesus. Among many reasons, one crucial reason for the rise of opposition seems to be connected to the relationship between these Christians and their involvement in the commerce of the empire that was embedded in the imperial cults. Examining the personnel involved in commercial structures in Roman Empire, J. Nelson Craybill points out that Revelation contains various allusions to economic status at key points. In doing so, he establishes Christian involvement in the imperial commercial network in the late 1st and early 2nd century Common Era. According to Craybill, at the end of the 1st century, Christians had ready access to the ships, docks, and guild halls that serviced Rome's enormous appetite and could have obtained wealth by participating in the trade that Rome made possible. However, he adds, all guilds at Rome and in the East had a religious character, often centered on the patron gods or goddesses of that association. And the imperial cults infiltrated nearly every guild. Thus, it was common for trade guilds and merchant guilds to recognize the emperor himself as the most revered patron. As seen, the economic benefit from involvement in patron-client relationships was closely related to the imperial cults. See, I think it's time to go and look at some quotes here and make a summary of today's. Just have to see where I ended up. I can go back where we were last, so I can put a mark. That's where we started, I think where we ended now. I usually put a mark. Yes, very good, thank you. Here it comes. And I think about 60. So, and you, cheers. Go to 354. There is a comparison in the last paragraph, naked versus dressed. The author identifies a polarity here between being dressed and being undressed. Jesus in this take is robe-bearing down to his feet and a golden belt around his chest. Could even be a kingly sash attire. Whereas the son of Domitian is completely naked. So once more we have the recto and verso. We have the head and tails. We define nakedness from being dressed and vice versa. They are codependent. Without no undressed Domitian son, there wouldn't be a dressed Jesus, because therefore all would be dressed and there wouldn't be any difference or difference. Very interesting. It could be that the very depiction from Revelation is an opposition, a reversal of the imperial iconography of the Son of Domitian. It's the other side. So it's not so different. All contradictions are very close to each other. Interesting two-sidedness that makes it possible for Jesus to be Jesus, and of course Caesar Flavius to be the son of Domitian and deified. They can be individual as well. Interesting comparison of today. Today, believing in God is not to believe in no God, which is very different from how it used to be. Or believe in the existence in comparison to non-existence. Very thin grounds to stand on. This is much more solemn and much more sturdy, I would say. And we have an interesting remark on page 358. In the second paragraph, the quote from Wood. Entrat Sigmund Freud with non-physical contra non-psychological persecution or psychological persecution. So here is a revelational further down. There we are. I'm sure. Yeah, that's even better quote. Thank you, Kalle. We take that one. Such impending persecution, according to Wood, could reflect a present setting of escalated tension for Christians due to non-physical persecution that has at times resulted in physical persecutions of various types. We still need to go to the quote 8 lines down. We can read the contemporary non-physical persecution develops an atmosphere that increases the potential for more physical persecution in the indeterminate future, reflecting the physical persecution from the indeterminate past. Also an interesting polarity, one that didn't exist at the time. There was nothing, such a thing that physical or non-physical. That is in itself a reflection of modern day, but still very interesting. We create non-physical from making an opposition, almost like Domitian and Jesus, or the emperor as head, and on the tail side of the DCCT, we find Caesar Flavius. What is then the soul? Some sort of psychology. And in 4.2 further down, we go into the economic tension and pressure. And I think it's noteworthy here that at that time, it was no difference made between commerce, as in the guilds. And it says they infiltrated nearly every guild, the imperial cults. Well, it's a very modern phenomenon to make a difference there. You go in, for instance, to India, they still don't do that difference. I don't think they will ever do it. This page 359. It's a very modern, I say, even 20th century thinking that one thing is religion and another is commerce or guild or anything like that. It's a very Western take. And well, we discussed that earlier. I won't go into that today, but it reduces religion to a supplement or even a trace, a sort of a parasitic thing on the material important thing. You see how the dependence on oppositions can go both ways, so to speak. Well, maybe some comments from Kalle here.
Yes. Let me only comment one thing here. Let me see. I found another dichotomy on this page. What is this page? Number 355, 355. you see the dichotomy already established in the
Oh, yes.
title. Surrounded by the 7 stars versus holding the 7 stars.
Oh, yeah.
So here Lee writes, while the DCCT depicts the stars as encircling the deified son of Domitian, displaces him within the realm of the stars. Rebels 1:16 portrays the 7 stars as being held at the right hand of Jesus, and therefore Jesus would be superior. And let me return to the coin to make my point. This coin, which is today at the British Museum of London, as you know, from 82-83. So let's see. So according to Lee, there will be a dichotomy between holding and surrounding. Between holding and surrounding. And his point is that these stars would be surrounding Domitian's son.
Yes.
However, I would say that this dichotomy between holding and surrounding does not work. Why so? If you look at the hands, they are not normal hands, they are like star hands. Because they assume the form of stars. Those big hands, they look like stars. They could also perhaps also allude vaguely, I don't know, to goat arms, because not Jesus, but Jupiter was read up as a goat on Crete, island Crete. But I think it's much more that they resemble stars. They are like these stars. Therefore, in this coin you could say that the stars both surround the child, but the star is also holding the hands. Would you agree, Hans? Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good idea. He has the stars in his hands. His hands are also stars. Yeah.
But let's just assume that I'm wrong. Let's assume for the would my analysis still work? No. So Leah assumes that the child is, so to say, inferior to the stars because he's not holding them.
No.
So that is Lee's point. But the child is partially on the top of them, and if, let's say, there is also sea stars,
Yes.
then the child would absolutely be above the stars if they're sea stars.
Oh, yeah.
So I think holding and surrounding, I don't know if this dichotomy, even if the dichotomy is there, I think the coin's point is different. Okay, in Revelation, okay, Jesus holding the stars, showing that he's the master of the stars. But here, the master is shown in a different way. He's actually among the stars, I would say. Domitian's child. It's not that he's inferior to them, but he's only among them because the child becomes taken up, deified. Perhaps not in the same way as holding the hands in his stars in the hand, but still he's among the stars. So the point is different. I think still, no, I don't think Romans would disagree that actually even in this depiction, Domitian's child is actually the master of the stars.
Yes. Well, sounds very good. There is also a chirality there. His head is turned a certain way. Depending from where you're looking, he's looking to the left or to the right.
But anyhow, so it's difficult to. Strange that Lee doesn't comment on the hands. And there's something strange with the hands. How do you? They are not normal hands. There's something with them. I'm not. I don't know how Does he have 5 fingers? Perhaps, but I don't know. I think they look like stars.
I would say he looks younger. He's much more pulp than a 5-year-old.
Mm.
Look more like an infant, a toddler.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. There's much we could comment on, but I don't know if we should. We could also comment perhaps on the persecution. You already mentioned that. So on page 15 or something.
Yes, I thought it was interesting. There was this non-physical persecution came up.
Since
it's a very modern idea that there is a persecution that is one physical and one psychological.
yes, absolutely.
Slander, deception, and wealth redistribution are mentioned as the non-physical persecutions.
Now that there has been in the last, since 2015 at least, there's been a trend in scholarship that says that the persecution of Christians, that the Christians in later centuries tend to exacerbate them. So I don't know. So it relates a little bit to this topic. Instead here, non-physical persecution, I don't know. It's very difficult. It's good to be aware of this discussion. How was the persecution? It's a horrific subject, of course. It's easy for today for academians sitting comfortably on their seats say, no, the persecution was exaggerated. The persecution, our persecution is horrible, of course. But perhaps we should end there for today.
Yes, it became I think it's about time. I say thank you very much for participating, Kalle, and thank you for listening and having a look. Until next time, do enjoy. See you next. Bye-bye.
Bye.